This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the morning of August 1st, 2022. I'm Gary Dick. This is week 2 of the Indiana General Assembly special session. Over the weekend, the Senate narrowly voted to ban most abortion in the state, a bill that now heads to the Indiana House and could make Indiana among the first to pass abortion restrictions since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Political analyst Abdul Hakim Shabazz thinks the abortion issue could impact Indiana business.
It is an emotional issue, it is a legal issue, but it is also a business issue. We've got someone who's thinking about where am I going to set up shop? I got to attract talent, particularly younger folks, younger women in particular, who've only known all their lives as Roe versus Wade. Now Roe versus Wade is gone.
Hard Truth Distilling Company is making some major additions to its Brown County operations. The distillery has begun construction on a second rack house that will double the size of its current storage facility. The distillery did not disclose its financial investment in the project, which is expected to help increase production by more than 800%. The Indiana State University Board of Trustees approved a plan on Friday to request $66 million to renovate and expand the more than 40-year-old Technology Annex building on the Terre Haute campus. The funding would be considered as part of the state's biennial budget that will be crafted in next year's legislative session. You're listening to Inside Indiana Business Radio.
IBJ Media delivers business news covering central Indiana and the entire state. The Indianapolis Business Journal and Inside Indiana Business are now part of the same family. Look to the IBJ for in-depth coverage of central Indiana's business community and tap into Inside Indiana Business for stories that extend throughout Indiana. 2 resources, unlimited business insights that help you stay informed and get ahead. Learn more at ibj.com and insideindianabusiness.com.
Boosted by a recent $1.6 million seed round, West Lafayette-based startup Novolytic will be testing its technology in the coming weeks with major pharma companies in the U.S. The young company is planning commercial launch for early 2023. Here's Inside Indiana Business reporter Kylie Valletta.
A crucial part of the drug-making process is putting all the starting organisms into a container called a bioreactor, also known as a fermenter. The startup likens the process to fermenting beer. Novolytic's tool detects in real time if there are poisons or contamination in pharmaceutical fermenters that could run an entire batch of drugs. Novolytic Chief Executive Officer Paul Dreyer says with standard methods, if a bioreactor becomes contaminated, it takes 3 to 4 days to clean once the reaction is finished.
Every one of those days is worth about $200,000. If, in fact, that batch becomes too contaminated and it's waste, it will save the pharmaceutical company $20 million. So it's a great big savings, and we can tell them now in real time. Right now, they cannot do that without our product.
The $1.6 million in seed funding will support hiring an additional 20 employees and launching its tool called the Proteometer into the marketplace. Dreyer believes, boosted by sales, Novolytic will likely create 50 jobs in about 2 years. Kylie Valletta, Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Carmel-based Merchants Bank Corp., the parent of Merchants Bank of Indiana, is reporting second quarter net income of $53.9 million, compared to $51.4 million during the same period last year. CEO Michael Petrie says the bank continued to successfully manage capital, liquidity, and resources as it expanded its product reach. Noblesville-based Rise Claim Solutions is providing what it calls a new sustainable living wage. The company says the new starting wage will be $16 per hour. That is more than double the current federal and state minimum wages of $7.25 per hour. This is Gary Dick for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.